Better Together podcast.
Welcome to the Better Together podcast from the Fuquay Verena Chamber of Commerce. We are recording today from the Dashmore Conference Room and Studio, sponsored by Rescued Wood Rehab. The Better Together podcast highlights local businesses each week as the Fuquay Verena Chamber of Commerce continues to promote an amazing business community. I am Marty Woodward from Rescued Wood Rehab, and I am joined by my co-host, Brad Marshall, the one and only from Greater Culture CrossFit. Brad, how are you?
Doing well, excited for the new year here and to continue these conversations because we had some fantastic conversations in 25 and 26 is looking up.
26 is going great, and we continue to have great guests every week, including the one we have here today.
Yeah, really excited to be joined by Brent Dietrich from Live View Studios. We're excited to learn a little bit more about him and his business and his journey. So, Brent, thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So, Live View Studios, for folks who maybe aren't as familiar, tell us a little bit about what Live View Studios is.
Yeah, so Live View Studios is wedding and family photography and then wedding videography primarily. So I've been running the business for going on 18 years now, done over 1,000 weddings, all up and down the East Coast, everywhere from Rhode Island and Erie to way down, Georgia, Florida. So we've kind of been all over the place. We've kind of consolidated in the last couple of years as I've had kids and the family has grown to be a little bit more regional. So there's not as much travel on the weekends, but pretty much it's very rare that I don't have a Saturday or Friday or sometimes even a Sunday that I'm doing a wedding. So weekends off are rare for me.
Yeah, crossing the 1,000 wedding threshold, that is incredible, 18 plus years. So be curious to take it all the way back to what got you inspired or excited to get into videography and then focus in on weddings.
Yeah, it was kind of it wasn't one of those like, this is what my career path is going to be in the very beginning. I've always worked for myself right out of high school, started my own businesses. I was in freelance journalism for a while, worked for a couple different newspapers back in the day, did some stuff for them, wanted to be a National Geographic photographer, wanted to go to law school at one point, didn't do that, went the creative route instead. Just everything has kind of always been in a vein of like media production and creative collaboration type stuff. So it wasn't something that I set in my mind, like I want to be a wedding photographer. I started doing some photography for, for money and for actual work. And then my brother-in-law at the time was like into photography. And so we would just collab on a bunch of stuff. And I don't know, somewhere along the line, somebody asked us to do a wedding and it just started snowballing from there. So.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot you've learned over the years. And right before we hopped on the podcast, you were talking about the COVID years and what that was like. And so one of the things we're always interested is for being open that long, challenges, they're bound to come up. They're bound to, potentially derail what things are going well. So when you start thinking about the challenges that you've faced and overcome over 18 years, what are some of the things that come to mind for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing and it just applies to like any self-employed business owner too, is like you're going to have ups and downs that you have to weather. And so figuring out the navigation of like how to ride the downs, and manage your money and your finances and diversify your income, that's probably the most challenging thing. And you get through those first 3 to 5 years or whatever, and then stuff starts to build. And so like, the first couple of years we had to do a lot of advertising. We were pushing our name out everywhere. And then eventually as we made connections with wedding planners and venues and just other businesses and stuff in the industry, stuff started to snowball. And we haven't had to pay for advertising probably for the last 8 to 10 years. We'll do like events like open houses and stuff like that at local venues and whatnot. But it's just snowballed, even with our family photography. Like we do, like I just finished up 3 weekends of Christmas family sessions at the studio, and that's something that's just snowballed. Like our page for that has just gotten so much SEO value that everybody who comes every year is just like, I just searched for Christmas photos near me and found you guys. So it sort of feels like a cheat code. Like we don't really pay for advertising anymore, but when you've been in business that long, you kind of get the benefits of the longevity too.
Yeah. Sure. A lot of business owners out there are like, wow, how do I get on that train? Because that sounds fantastic. But I love what you said there. It was about the relationships early on. It's about investing in your craft and continuing to build some of that, and then pays dividends down the road. You mentioned that you've expanded into family photography, doing all the weddings. When you start thinking about things that maybe are unique or things maybe you've come to make a really fantastic experience for the couples that you work with, what are some of the things that come to mind for you of what makes your business unique or how you make somebody's day really special?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that recently. I've actually just this afternoon was working on a script for a video that I want to post soon about what it means to have a luxury wedding experience, because that's a term that goes around a lot, and we kind of are in that budget range of what I would call leaning more into luxury. Like we're not cheap by any means. We're kind of the mid range has kind of disappeared from the wedding industry right now, just because of the economy and the way things sit. But for me, like luxury is about the experience that you get. It's not just about the dollar value that goes into the wedding or into the event or into your family session. It's about the care that you get from the person who's delivering the product to you, you know. And one of the things that is invaluable, I think, being in the event and hospitality industry, which is what the wedding industry is considered, for that long, is you just get it becomes like a second nature to you. And so, like, there's very little that can happen in an event day that ruffles me. And that's part of the value that I bring to the table for a couple, is I'm like, you might find somebody cheaper, but it doesn't mean that when your veil falls out that that person is going to know how to put it back in. I mean, yes, I do photo and video, but like I've tied guys' bow ties, I've bustled wedding dresses, I've been people's mental health therapists on that day when they break down and start having, I mean, there's so many facets of it. And so when you're able to just take it all in stride and not get ruffled, and still keep to a timeline and a schedule, because everything has to run on time, that's, I think, the biggest value that I bring. I'm just like a calm presence to people. And even with doing like family photography and stuff, like, people come in with their kids, and I've got kids of my own, like I know what it's like, and they want good pictures, but I'm just like, I know how to work with the kids to get them to like be happy and not be too stiff and still make it fun for them. And so there's kids that I've been photographing since they were like babies, and now they're like, some of them are like 12, 13, 14 now, and so they know me. They come in and it's like, hey, what's up, and fist bump, and it's a good time of the year for them to come do Christmas pictures or do family pictures because they know me that well.
That's awesome. Brent, kind of, if you would to share the basic summary, what products and services do you offer? Is it just photos? Is it just videos? Is there something else that you would say, here's my catalog, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm photo and video for weddings, so obviously those are a lot of digital deliveries, but people can also purchase prints, they can purchase albums, they can purchase ornaments, little gift products with like their photographs and stuff on them. So there's a bunch of different things once somebody receives their gallery that they can choose from a variety of products in the back end and order those and have them shipped to them as well.
Is there a favorite type of thing that you get to do that is the most fun for you in wedding photography or even Christmas photography? Is there something to just really get your creative juices flowing?
It's just being around people for me. Like, I am very fueled by being around people and making people happy. And so that's the thing. Like, I can't stay cooped up by myself too long. I gotta get out and be around people and like talk to people and have conversations. That's the biggest, like, what do they call it? Serotonin? I don't know. Whatever that boost that you get.
Oxytocin would be the one when you connect or hug somebody.
I don't even know what serotonin is. Maybe I said
that's also one that is another neurochemical.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe
nerding out over here. No worries. But yeah, most of them are pretty good. Dopamine's good. Oxytocin's good. Serotonin.
Yeah.
I think we need somebody else in here to give us advice on all of those things that Brad just said. We may need an attorney too. So, this is awesome. So, Brent, are there any special initiatives or community involvement things that you've got going on here in the new year?
Not on the schedule yet, but there's always things that pop up. So there's a couple different, we'll have different local charities that will ask us for donations and stuff. The women's club in Fuquay, we usually do a donation for their ball. There's a couple other nonprofits that we will do some things for. There's a a Down syndrome group in Raleigh called Gigi's Playhouse that we did a collaborative
I know
thing
Gigi's.
for.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, so we did a thing for them for a big event that they had just as a donation. Cause for Paws up in Raleigh, we'll partner with them on some stuff. So a few little charitable things here and there. And so we try to give back to the community as much as we can through different ways like that, as time permits and stuff, of course.
Yeah. It's always fun to give back and find different ways to invest in the community. You shared some of the awesome lessons that you've learned business-wise, weathering the storms, things like that. As somebody who's in photography, and I know a lot of listeners out there are probably always trying to capture some fantastic photos, even just if it's on their iPhone or their own personal cameras. Is there anything that you might share with them to give them some helpful tips or tricks on, like, hey, how do we capture really great photos? Because I'm one who sits behind the camera, and when I'm helping out my wife, there's probably 5 or 6 takes of trying to capture the right photo. So help me do a better job so I don't have to do 5 or 6 takes. What are some things that you might share with folks that might be helpful for them?
Oh man, well there's a lot that goes into that. I actually teach some photography classes on like how to take the best picture with your iPhone, how to take the best picture with the camera that you have on you. That's kind of there's a multi-part thing with that.
Okay.
That's lighting and posing and looking for the best angles and stuff like that. But I always tell people, even other photographers, when I'm teaching them, because I do some education for photographers as well, is like the best camera is the one you have on you. It's just knowing how to use it well. And I think the biggest thing too, sometimes the advice I would offer, I don't know how much this applies to like a person, but is like, don't let your gear get too much in between you and your subject, because you can, with anything, like you can become a gearhead. And sometimes I feel like when it's just so much stuff in between you and the person, you get a little bit of an emotional disconnect from the person that you're photographing. And so I think that you get the most humanity in a picture and the best reactions when you're up and close with people and you're just like talking and conversating with them, and then you snap a picture, and you're not just hiding your face behind the camera all the time. Like the camera just kind of comes up and comes into action, and you take the picture then. So because people freeze, if they see this big long lens coming at them, they're like,
Yeah.
like you can feel it in
Yeah.
a crowd. Even when I'm like, I take pictures at church and even at post wedding, like at a reception, when people are dancing and having fun, and all of a sudden they see this coming in, and they're like. But if you're like in there with them, laughing and cutting up and making it fun, and then all of a sudden you're like pop pop pop, and get some great pictures.
Yeah. And I sense a theme. You mentioned how you love connecting with people, started to understand how to work with kids and work with subjects. So it's not just the gear, it's not just the ability to snap the photo, it's the ability to connect that can create a moment that's worth capturing, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the things that you mentioned is been a freelancer and really interested in entrepreneurship and things like that. And so for folks out there who maybe are aspiring to be an entrepreneur, maybe they want to get into videography or photography or maybe a different industry, what are some of the things that you've learned that you might share with aspiring entrepreneurs that you think could be helpful for them?
I think one of the biggest things that I have learned probably over all the years I've been in business is not to underestimate the power of local connections. And I think that it's especially prevalent among people who get into photography, because it's a very like image-driven type of thing, which immediately takes you to like Instagram and social media, where you're going to be pushing images out and you want your image to go viral, you want your video to go viral. And so sometimes a lot of newer photographers or stuff, they'll kind of focus on that. How many likes can I get? How many reactions can I get? Can I make this go viral? You could have a video go viral with 9 million views, but it doesn't mean that the people that live around you are going to hire you to do any work. And so I think sometimes that's a pitfall, as people lose track of who they need to be connecting with in their local community. Because the reality is, there's a few people that do destination work, or they're going to be traveling around, doing weddings all over the place, and that's fine. But for 80 to 90% of photographers and stuff, your local work is going to be your bread and butter. It might not always be the most glamorous. It might not be that fancy destination wedding in Milan that you want, but if it puts food on the table and it pays your bills, like that's the kind of work you need. So I always tell people, like, there's no substitute for doing the boots on the ground work to make the local connections over just sitting behind your phone or sitting behind a computer pushing stuff out on social media. That's important too, but it can't be your 100% marketing strategy.
Yeah, I mean, with a town like Fuquay, over 50,000 people, continuing to grow, plenty of opportunities in the area here. So get out there and make those connections, which is always really, really helpful.
Yeah.
So we're fresh into 2026. You've been at this thing for a while. Are there any goals or things for 2026 that you're either excited to work on or grow or build, or what gets you fired up going into this year?
Well, I'm always looking to do a little bit more commercial stuff. So, like I had said to you, we have another commercial side of the business as well that does corporate branding and things like that. So, trying to get a little bit more into some of those areas of what we would call more weekday work, which is stuff that doesn't tie up my weekends as much. So, I'm always looking for new ways to market for that. And I really want to get more into doing more education this year. It's just kind of one of those things. I've done it. I used to run a retreat for photographers. So we did about 10 of them all over the Southeast region, where we would get about 10 to 12 photographers together and do a 3 to 4 day intensive thing. So I want to lean back into that, but then when you have like regular work that takes up your time, it's hard to just focus on doing that other stuff. So I definitely want to push more into that and start doing some more education and stuff again this year too.
Yeah. Brent, you're here in the Fuquay, Verena market. You said those connections with folks. You get the opportunity to shop here in the local area. Do you have a favorite spot or two that you would say, I really enjoy going there?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm a kind of a foodie. And I don't go out particularly and like shop for things as much as I just like to go out and eat.
A lot of good options.
I go, if I go to shop somewhere, I know exactly what I'm getting when I go into a place and I go there and get it. I don't browse a whole lot unless it's a tool store, and then you know how us guys, we get a little distracted on the tools.
Yeah. You got to go down up and down the aisles,
exactly.
walk through all of it.
Exactly. But our family, we love to go out to Restored and get a coffee or Cultivate. Those are two favorite spots that we go to pretty frequently. Love going to Nils. That's like one of my favorite lunch or places to go. Take the kids out, and it's right down from my studio, so that's an easy place to get into. And everybody, like Garibaldi's for pizza, like love those guys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel like they're not one that like people think of immediately when they talk about pizza, but anytime somebody's at the studio and they're like, is there any place we can get a good lunch? And I'm like, well, there's this Italian, you can get some good pizza at Garibaldi, believe it or not. Like, it doesn't look like a pizza place, but they have good pizza in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Garibaldi's is awesome.
Yeah.
All those are fantastic.
That's great. That's great. So, Brent, what's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Oh, that I've received. I guess I would probably, I don't know if I received it or if it was just something that I like received into my head at some point as an acknowledgement. And it I guess it's probably like, don't get into the comparison game. Like I reached a point in my business probably around 6 to 8 years in. You go through this stage where you're like looking at what everybody's doing and you're like, oh man, why am I not doing that? Why do they look so successful? Why are they getting this cool job and mine looks like this? And I had to just stop. Like, I stopped following those accounts. If it was an account that triggered me, every time I saw something that they did, even if it was like a peer of mine, I'm like, I still love you guys, but like, I can't, if I just unfollowed it, cleared space in my head, tried to lean more into contentment and, just being content with where I was at, being content with the work that I produced. And after that point, I had a shift in like, I don't need to do this for anybody's approval other than the people that I work for. And it doesn't matter whether other people look more successful. I have to be, happy with where I'm at. And so now I don't, I'm like, I like the work that I produce. I'm happy with it. Doesn't look like other people's, but photography is an art. So each person's work is going to look slightly different. And so I think as long as it makes you happy and brings you joy, I think that's the important part. Yeah. And obviously you got to get some people to pay you for it too.
Sure, so. And you build the confidence. If you have the confidence to build that confidence in the customer, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So is there like if somebody said, hey, is there something surprising about what you do? Is there a surprising fact out there about your business?
I mean, I think probably a little bit of what I mentioned earlier of like, especially for wedding photography, I always tell people, like, if you want to be a wedding photographer, you can't just be a photographer because there's so much more to it. Like,
You were telling us some stories about, tying bow ties and
Oh, yeah.
fixing veils and all those things.
yeah,
Other things that you do, right?
yeah. I mean, I could blow your mind with some stories from the wedding industry over 17 years. Like, I've seen all kinds of drama and everything on the back end of weddings.
Sure.
But there is just so much more, I think, to it. You are, especially on a wedding day, you are the person that is most intimately connected and in proximity with the couple that's getting married. There's nobody that's closer to that couple that day other than the photographer, because the planner will come and go. They're connected too, but they'll check in and out. As a photographer, like, you're beside them all the time, and so you kind of become that person that if you're anxious or you're stressed or you're yelling at people, they're going to get anxious. They're not going to feel great about their day either. And people say that sometimes. They're like, yeah, my so-and-so in my family had this wedding and the photographer seemed angry all the time. They're like yelling at people during family pictures. And it's like, I get it. Like, especially for family pictures, like, you have to make stuff move, but you got to do it in a nice way too. Like, even when you got to boss people around a little bit, you got to do it with a smile.
Yeah.
Make people feel good about what's going on. So I think it's just that balance of, like, knowing that you got to be like everything and anything to the people, and just make them feel good about their day.
Yeah, it makes me think that with any industry, whether it's a skill set that you learn, but there still is a relationship there, and it's a relationship-driven business and industry, and so being able to master some of that, of the how do I connect with somebody, how do I share things, and so that's a great piece of it. And so for folks out there who are interested to either connect or learn a little bit more about you and your business, what are the best ways for folks to reach out or connect or get in touch with you?
Yeah. You can go to the website. It's liveviewstudios.com, LIVEVIEW studios.com. And we have a physical studio in Fuquay over on the Verena side, over at the intersection there at J&S Pizza, right above Super Bowls Cafe. We're in the second story up there. And then you can follow us at Live View Studios on Instagram or Facebook. And you can follow me at Brent Dietrich, DEITRICH, on Instagram as well.
Yeah, and so being a chamber member, and you mentioned connecting with the community, we always love to hear from folks what being a chamber member has been like for them, or some of the success stories, or just what their experience has been like. So anything to share in terms of being part of the Fuquay Verena Chamber of Commerce here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the chamber here is great in, like, the amount of events and stuff that they offer for people to attend to, because I don't make all of them. I don't know that anybody can make all of them.
No.
But since there's so many of them, you can, like, pop in on.
There's so many.
You
There
can
really
pop
are.
in on some of them, and Dustin and Christy have done a great job with doing all of that. And I was literally just telling somebody this morning who lives in Garner, and they were like, we have a lot of clients in Fuquay. I'm like, well, maybe you should join the Fuquay Chamber of Commerce, because, like, we have a lot of members down here. So I mean, it's rocking and rolling here, as you know, and it's always good to just kind of get connected with all the other local businesses that way, and just put faces to names and know who people are. So it's been a great benefit for me that way, just being able to connect with people and just know who people are.
Yeah, and I definitely would second that. I know all of us have found that to be such a beneficial aspect to it, is the connections, getting out into the local community, learning what other people do, figuring out how you might be able to help and support each other. It's always fantastic. And so, Brent, with that, thank you so much for being a guest on the Better Together podcast today. Really fun to hear your story and how you make a difference in people's lives by capturing some of their most memorable days and then giving them something that they can always look back on and see with favor.
Cool. Yeah, it was fun being on.
Brent, thank you, and thank you to our listeners. Join us each week on the Better Together podcast from the Fuquay Verena Chamber of Commerce as we highlight a great local business. From the Dashmore Conference Room and Studio, sponsored by Rescued Wood Rehab, I am Marty.
And I'm Brad.
And we are
Better Together.
We're better together. It's a weekly podcast. We're better together. You should know that there's more in the dash. we're better together. Fuquay, Verena, Chamber of Commerce. We're better together podcast.